For more on the situation inside Iran, we're joined once again by Irvan Abrahamian, an Iranian-American who is a distinguished professor of history at the City University of New York. Professor, nice to see you again. Thank you very much for being here. So a human rights organization in Iran is reporting that 1,000 Iranians have been arrested, and this is something that's happened within the last 2 months. Is this an indication of the government's weakness, or is this an indication of the government's strength that they're able to do this?
Well, I think it's an indication that they want to prevent any sort of mass demonstrations on Thursday, which is the anniversary of the revolution. So what they're trying to do is disrupt as much as possible opposition groups. There are now 17 opposition groups who have joined in calling for demonstrations, and so they're basically trying to arrest the leadership of those groups. The problem for the government is that you can arrest the top leaders, but there are others there who will replace them. So it's a much more of a mass movement, which is hard to basically eradicate.
Right, and it's been reported that many of those who have been arrested are from women's rights organizations, and journalists also have been rounded up in much larger numbers. Is there a reason why these particular groups are perhaps being singled out in this way?
Oh, very much so, because especially the women's movement is a very important part of the whole reform movement. During the election in the summer, the women's campaigners were playing a very important part in mobilizing support for the reformers. So the government actually sees the women's organizations as a threat.
What do you think is going to happen tomorrow during the protests to mark the 31st anniversary of the Islamic Revolution? Do you think that there will be violence?
I think there will be some violence, but whether there is or not, I think we'll end up basically where we are before the demonstrations. It's reached an impasse, really.
Let's turn to the issue of Iran's nuclear program. The United States today imposed new sanctions. Where do you see this going next?
I don't see it really going anywhere, because the sanctions, again, are not really going to put that much pressure on Iran. And unfortunately, the sanctions play into the hands of the Ahmadinejad government, because he can go to the Iranian public and undercut the reformers by saying, look here, United States is trying to prevent us from having what we deserve, which is nuclear technology.
Professor, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.